Good evening and welcome to the September 18th meeting of the Board of Selectmen. If you'd all rise for Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, again, good evening and welcome for those in attendance and those that have tuned in. Just a couple of announcements, just a reminder that tax bills are out and they are due October 5th is the first half payments. Secondly, if you are on the lake, you've certainly noticed that the water is going down. We'll have some more discussion relative to that later this evening. But and the boat launch, I would presume in the next few days will not be usable, although it's very questionable whether it's usable now, but there have been a few folks go down there and use it, I guess. So. Any other announcements from the board? Moving along, I have a public hearing tonight to discuss really concerns with fireworks. This is kind of we've had some feedback over the course of the summer relative to the fireworks now being lawful within the state of Maine, and just to drop back a year or so ago when this law went into effect throughout the state, we ran a little survey on the internet. We also took some comments from some folks, and we did have a public hearing a year ago. There wasn't much, if any, interest in seeing the town do anything other than what the state law allowed. Certainly now that we've gone through a full year or a season, if you want to call it that, where fireworks have been used throughout the municipality, we've had a little bit probably of the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we've had some feedback with regard to all of that. David has been kind enough to put out on the website another survey, and as of Friday, I think we'd only had about 80 some odd participants in that. I don't know if it's gone up significantly, Dave, or not. A bit mixed, more leaning towards negative experience than positive experience, but again, with a municipality of 7,500 people and 81 answering a survey on the internet, that doesn't, the sample size is pretty low. So we will share some of that tonight. I did or was asked by the fire chief earlier today to just mention that from the fire department's perspective, they have not had an incident relative to the use of fireworks within the municipality. So he just wanted to, he was not able to be here tonight, but wanted to make sure that we at least laid that out with whether or not they, because that certainly is a question of whether or not there have been any events relative to that. We've asked Deputy Sanborn to be here tonight. He is the contract deputy serving the municipality. And we'll take some questions and answers, I guess, from Sean and certainly the general public. So I would, I guess, open this up to any comments. Anybody from the board before we get started like to add anything, or? No? Okay. Sean, why don't you step right up to the, and I guess give us your experience over the last, or at least through the summer, of what we've had, how many, if any,
complaints every day, usually. Yeah, complaints every day to the sheriff's office and to me. The statute was written so that people could theoretically fire them off until 10 o'clock at night. A lot of people go to bed before 10 o'clock, put their kids to bed before 10 o'clock. So it's obviously generating complaints. A lot of people don't like it. I don't know if it's the majority of people. We need a better survey to really know. 1/100th of the population isn't, I don't think that's a very good survey. But I do know, I got a complaint today. Someone said, hey, my neighbor every night at 8:30 fires them off. Also my neighbor, same guy. I said, well, I've gone over to talk to him. And that's my advice to people right now. If you have a neighbor that you know is doing this and is waking your kids up, my first question is, do you get along with this neighbor, and have you gone to speak to him or her in a courteous manner? Because that could solve the problem. The sheriff's office right now, the rural patrol people that have to patrol 4 to 5, sometimes 6 towns individually, they don't have time to be fireworks hunters out there. They really don't put out a big response to the fireworks complaints. They simply don't have time in between the domestics and multiple reports they have to write every night for other incidents. I myself haven't really put a lot of effort into it myself because fireworks are difficult to locate. They go off, a lot of these complaints consist of, hey, there's someone firing fireworks off in the neighborhood. Okay, in Lake Arrowhead, that can be fun to locate. Happened half an hour ago. A lot of the complaints are like that, so it's very difficult to enforce even if we did have something. And before 10 o'clock, I don't know, the governor has pretty much said it's okay before 10 o'clock. I guess we could fall back on disorderly conduct. It is kind of a stereo blaring at 9 o'clock at night, keeping the neighbors awake. I don't see what the difference is. It's a noise complaint. I guess we could go on disorderly conduct, but a lot of the time the complainants don't know where it's even coming from, so it's difficult. The only one I really put effort into was someone I know who is a Iraq war veteran. He's got a little bit of PTSD going on. He called me up and he was fairly irate because this keeps going on near him. And he told me straight out, he said, honestly, I'm too upset to go talk to the neighbors myself at this point. I said, I'll take care of it. So I went and had a conversation with them and left him anonymous. And they were nice enough once they found out what was going on that they were making a guy dive onto the floor with their fireworks that sound like mortars going off. He didn't enjoy that very much. So they were nice enough to limit their fireworks. They were doing it several times a week, I guess. But nice people, but he had the judgment not to go over there and address it himself. But if you're not irate, you know your neighbors, you know who's doing it, try to take care of it yourselves. And if that doesn't work, I guess call us. But the governor has kind of let the leash off, so we're kind of stuck.
Okay.
What would, if we had an ordinance, we do, but let's say if we had an ordinance limiting fireworks, would it be any easier for you to police it?
The trick with ordinances is I usually use state statutes because the district attorney will go ahead and prosecute those for us sometimes.
Oh, yeah. We'd have to pay to have it prosecuted, basically.
We would need, you would either have to have me go down to Springvale Court and prosecute this myself as a kind of court officer. I'd have to take a course. You know more than I do.
Yeah. Municipal prosecutor.
Yeah.
Course.
Which
It's an 8-hour easy block.
yeah, I could do that. I'm not worried about that. It's actually going and doing it. I don't like being here like this in a courtroom. That winds me up the first few times. So yeah, I would have to leave town, leave what I'm doing here, which is, as I've said dozens of times, it's a very busy town. I'd have to drop what I'm doing and go down to Springvale Court on certain court dates and prosecute these cases. I would have to do it, or the town of Waterboro would have to potentially appoint someone from the town hall to do it. theoretically, is that possible? Has to
You
be the
have-
police department?
It has to be a sworn officer who's had the training or an attorney.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's gotta be,
The elected-
it couldn't be someone like you do it for Saco.
Can't do the city ordinances.
You can't,
Can,
you can't
you
do
can
it.
discuss them, you
Okay.
can negotiate them,
But
but when
not-
it comes time to the prosecution,
Okay.
it has to be either a sworn officer or an attorney.
Okay, that's why I see the Sanford officers doing it and not, okay. Okay, yeah, it would have to be me.
There'd have to be a letter from the Board of Selectmen designating him as the municipal ordinance prosecutor as well, because that has to be on file with the
I
court.
mean, I could do that, but do you want me to, do you want to remove me from my duties in town? I mean, the purpose of me being here is to be here. I mean, it's just something you have to consider. You know, the reason I have a computer in an office over here is so that I'm here and not in Alfred or Springdale. Obviously, I have to go to Springdale Court on occasion or Alfred Court because that's the nature of my job, but this will just expand on that. So it's,
Well, I wouldn't think it would be something you'd be doing every day. And
No,
if we tightened up the ordinance a little bit,
it
it'd
would,
probably
but
eliminate a lot of your
Well,
transactions.
let's just make it clear, we do not have an ordinance.
Well,
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
if we were to want to tighten up state law, we would have to create an ordinance
Create
with
it, yeah.
those, with some of those provisions in it. So, and as you go around the state, you'll see that certainly some municipalities have allowed the sale of fireworks, but not the use of fireworks within municipalities. Haven't seen the other side of that, where they've allowed the use and not the sale.
people are, I will say, people are definitely enjoying their fireworks use in Waterboro. They're going off every night, and I don't know if you'll see like my neighbor, he does it almost, I don't know, every other night at least. It doesn't bother me very much, but his neighbor across from him gets, you know, she obviously expressed to me that she was upset about it today, so it just varies by. I don't see an easy solution to the whole thing. Even with an ordinance, there's going to be outlaws out there that are going to fire them off and put them back, and then there'll be a complaint. I don't know where it's coming from, but it's over there. It's going to be difficult.
Any other questions of Sean? Anything else, Sean?
I've got material for a report if you want to hear it. If not, I can come back some other time.
Why don't we hear whatever anybody else has got to say on this subject, and then we'll invite you back to the
Sounds good.
podium in 5 or 10 minutes, yeah?
Yeah, sounds good.
Anybody else like to speak for or against?
Just for a second.
Yeah, please step up and introduce yourself.
My name is Paul Clausen. I live in Lake Arrowhead. And like the officer was saying, at least this year, since they passed the law, people have been really enjoying it. I'm one myself. And did you say earlier about the fire department that there was not one incident?
That's what the fire chief told me today, was that,
Now, just with that said, I think that's pretty incredible. Because I myself thought it would be a disaster because it's been illegal for so long. And now that it's legal, to say that that was not one incident, that says a lot. I could see on the officer's hand, though, that, you know, some people are just not going to like them. And I think the key incident was who are your neighbors? You know, do you know your neighbors? Do you respect your neighbors? You know, if you're firing them off after, what is the town ordinance now, 10, you said?
state law says at 10 o'clock, the only exception to that is the 4th of July or New Year's Eve.
Right.
They can go as late as 12:30
Sure.
a.m., all right?
Oh, okay.
Or the weekend prior to either one of those events. So there's only about 4 days or 5 days that would allow to go to midnight or 12:30 a.m. The rest of it is it's 9 a.m. I don't know who would want to shoot them off at 9 a.m. in the morning, but 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. So,
Sure. And that gives, and, you know, I'm one for them, and that gives, to me, that gives way plenty of time to do it. And, you know, I invited my neighbors over, you know, some of them don't like it, but that's part of what you do as an adult. You go over there and you talk to them and say, hey, I'm going to be doing this, do you mind? Or, oh, you're sleeping tonight? Well, fine, you know. To try to come up with an ordinance like the officer said, and to alleviate that, I don't see that. It's just going to be, like he said, playing dodgeball. They don't have the time to do that, running around and do that. And like he said, they're going to show up and say, well, you know, it was someone over there, or was this neighbor. Well, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, know your neighbors, be respectful. You know, fireworks can be dangerous, but when it's done appropriately, I think the officer said it best, that this was the first year Maine enjoyed. I know I had a blast. You know, my son's birthday, 4th of July, you know, it was a blast. You know, it just, you got to be considerate. And I think you're not going to get on a survey people that want them. You're going to get all the negativity on the surveys. So it doesn't really even give you a good poll. But I just wanted to say that with the fire department, especially the first year having them and not having one incident, I think that says a lot for the town of Waterboro, that most people are responsible. Sure, there's a few, and I talked to the lady out there that said, you know, they were drinking and it got out of control. Yeah, you know, put that in the wrong hand, it could be potentially dangerous. But I think the officer said it best with, you know, just being respectful for your neighbors.
Good, appreciate the input.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any early comments from anybody on the board, or?
We did get an updated survey from David, and there are 99 responses now, and the positive and negatives have kind of evened out, 37 for, 39 oppose, so it's leveled out as far as the survey goes. You know, I can understand why some people are having problems with this. It's not like if they're just doing it on the weekends. There's some people that are doing it every single night of the week. There's children, you know, now you're getting into school year, or in the spring, kids that need to go to bed, you know, and you got little ones that you're trying to put down at 8 o'clock, and somebody's shooting off fireworks till 10 o'clock at night. We've got a lot of complaints about dogs. You know, it's setting the dogs off in the neighborhood and barking and whatnot. I guess my feeling at this point, though, is I don't think that the board has really seen enough complaints, considering the population, to really move forward to do anything differently than what we are now. I mean, if we pass an ordinance, then now we're shifting the responsibility of the contract deputy, and quite frankly, I'd rather him be going out and looking for, you know, drug violations and working on burglaries and domestic assaults and whatnot, rather than chasing firework complaints. But I think that, you know, maybe we can urge people within the community to be more responsible, more considerate. You know, if you're going to do it Friday, Saturday night, fine, but it doesn't need to be 7 nights a week. And it doesn't need to be all hours of the night either, you know, to have some consideration for your neighbors.
Anything else, folks? Nine?
How many complaints has the board received?
I think probably each of us has had 2 or 3. We've had some folks come to this meeting and express some concerns. But it's, in the grand scheme of things, it's maybe if you add them all up, and maybe some of them are duplicates or whatever, but it's probably a couple of dozen. Some I think are the same, depending on what selectmen they talk to or whether they talk to Sean. But I was surprised to hear Sean say that, you know, somebody talks to him every day about it. So, because that kind of puts a little different twist on it. So. Doug?
You know, this is the first year of the fireworks. Should we anticipate there's gonna be more people using them in the future? Or is this a bump in the road that's gonna even out a little bit? At my house, I live on Main Street, and I hear them, you know, some, because I'm a lover of fireworks, so I sit there and listen to them. I can go out and shoot one of my cannons, and you know, I can make more noise than a lot of fireworks, and there's, other than a noise ordinance, you know, but it's perfectly legal to shoot it off, and all it is a little Winchester cannon, you know, but they make a tremendous amount of noise. I just wondered from what I saw last year, I used them up at Rangeley at camp during the 4th of July. And what I saw last year, I didn't see any more fireworks than I've seen over there for the last 10 years that I've owned a place up there, you know? And I don't think that I've heard any more fireworks around than I hear other times, but I just wondered about how that...
Well, I think there was, you know, if you get some of the feedback, there was probably a little more activity at the lake this summer, but again, is that something that is kind of, hey, it's new and we're all gonna do it this year, and does it wane next year, or does it go the other way and so everybody says, hey, we had such a great time, it's gonna get bigger?
That's my question, is it a bump, is it gonna get bigger, or are we, you know, I don't know.
There's nothing to say that if it does increase, that we can't look at it again.
I mean, it's always, we're always in a position, I think, to address anything that happens to come up. If it becomes a nuisance or whatnot, then I think we deal with it. But, and I know there's some folks that, you know, would love to see a restriction put on it. But again, I think it goes back to this gentleman's saying that if you respect your neighbors, and you respect the neighborhood, then I think that takes a lot of the edge off. And that's really what it's all about. I think if you're in a development and you decide that you don't care what your neighbors think, then guess what? You're going to be the person that becomes the nuisance, right? I mean, and you may very well have a knock from Sean on the door, but the fact of the matter is that I think if everybody looks at it with respect for one another, then it may very well not get any worse or get better, I think, as time goes on. But
Question for Sean. I know that some folks that are here tonight are having issues where they're having damage to their property because of what their neighbors are setting off. It's going onto their property and, you know, causing problems with their awning, casings on their property or whatnot. But there's nothing really in the fireworks law that addresses the debris that's floating over to a neighbor's house. Have you heard or seen anything where somehow that can be addressed?
I almost think that would be a civil.
yeah. But the law is very specific. It says you can use them on your own property. When they start going on the property of someone that consents, right? If that now broaches the property line and you now start having issues, right, with neighbors, I'm not sure, and there is, and it's very specific, a person who violates that subsection commits a civil violation, which is a fine of not less than $50, no more than $500. That to me is, the law addresses that.
I'd have to call, I'd actually consult the district attorney and say, does that mean that it's a violation for them to fire it on someone's property without permission? Or is the effect of it a violation?
If I'm next door to you and I put bottle rockets at this angle,
Well,
they're coming into your yard,
well,
right?
That's terrorizing. That's terrorizing.
So that, I mean, there are some, and certainly in the developed areas, there are some instances where debris and whatnot is gonna find its way to other property.
Yeah, if someone's gonna fire rockets at someone's property, that's reckless conduct, terrorizing, and a bunch of other criminal, but not civil, arrestable things. So that would be different. But as far as things drifting down, I'd have to make a call about that, see if they would even prosecute that or if it would be civil.
Well, it goes back to know what you're doing and respect your neighbors and, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe you could speak to the young lady next to you because she's the one that's having the problem with damage to her property.
Oh. Yeah, she already
Okay.
got an appointment from me for outside the door in a few minutes.
Very good.
Anything else on the subject?
Just that, on rockets, as far as I know, they're illegal anyways, so they shouldn't be.
I was just trying to make a point.
Just so nobody's thinking they're shooting rockets at people.
Okay, then I would close this public hearing and we will move on with the agenda. And thanks for those who have turned out and have taken a part in the online survey. We'll keep that up for a while and see if there's any more activity on it. But, Sean, you want to, seeing as how you're here, and we'll keep you from sitting around, we'll give you
I'll try to be quick.
5 minutes of fame.
Okay, I just wanted to do a quick report for the end of summer, beginning of fall. Pretty typical summer, tourists, inflated call volume because of the tourists. Obviously the fireworks exacerbated the call volume a little bit because of the tourists. I got a lot of, speaking of fireworks, a lot of that, I hate to blame it on out-of-state people, but I think we'll see a decrease in the fireworks complaints now that the seasonal people are gone. We hope anyway. I know a lot of people were quick to blame the seasonal people, so there's going to be a little bit of a shift now that we're going from summer into fall. The tourists are gone home, so it's almost like a sigh of relief, but that now I have to jump right into 2 o'clock every day, and at 7 o'clock every day, it's student commuter time. And I will just tell you that if you're a student going back and forth to high school, and I get you for a driving violation, speeding, squealing your tires, probably won't get a break. So, and I've started a new, something new, a little experiment. As I'm standing at the car window of said teenager, I demand the parent's phone number then and there, and I stand at the window and I call the parent, not from my car, but a lot of the time right at the window, and you see the teenager try to melt into his car seat and disappear. So that's what'll happen. So if you're a teenager out there and you're watching, just drive like you're trying to take your driver's exam.
I'm not sure the demographics of people that watch this show would be calculated as a teenager.
You never know. At least the parents will tell them.
Parents might have it on as they walk by in the living room. So.
Could be a U.S. history requirement.
One of my favorite subjects, illegal marijuana cultivation. It's rampant as usual. It was about the same this summer as last summer, just chasing it down. I've got my secret agents that go out and tell me about it. Chadbourne Ridge, Roberts Ridge, Bennett Hill Road, those were all outdoor grows out in the woods. Bennett Hill Road is the worst that I saw. There were some plants that dwarfed me by about 2 feet. 84, you could have stood on Bennett Hill Road and thrown a baseball into the patch, but the foliage by the road, it was almost across from the transfer station. He has since moved out. He told me he'd be living in his van somewhere in Lyman. But that 84 plants, I'm guessing that was somewhere around $100,000 or more worth of street value of marijuana that we got rid of. He had dead meat hanging from the trees to try to kill the smell. Motion sensors, lights, all kinds of stuff out there. It was interesting. I actually didn't dare go in. I didn't dare.
Does roadkill kill the smell? I'm just curious.
No, it didn't. It didn't. I drove by smelling it. I'm like, yeah, it's there. And I got together with a friend and we took our rifles and came in the back way, and there it was. Made him walk into it first because I didn't know, with all the wires in there, I didn't know if there'd be a booby trap. Some of these people are fanatical and they put all manner of booby traps. This guy didn't, though.
Go ahead. Just
Earlier, before summertime, we had we had quite a few indoor grows, if you recall. May Street, everyone remembers the 900 plant May Street complex. Sheriff thinks it's the biggest one in York County history. I don't know where that's pending in court. I was on days off on that one, and it didn't hurt my feelings much. Beaver Dam Road, Linwood Ave, Beechwood Avenue, all those were separate grows that required me washing my uniform several times. Hot water. one of our detectives said to me, kind of offhandedly, in a disgusted voice, he said, "What is Waterboro, the marijuana capital of York County?" You know, oftentimes detectives get called out to assist us, or vice versa, on this stuff. So they get sick of marijuana after a while. Pill addiction, oxycodone, Contin, Suboxone. I will tell you that that's a culture that's very strong here in this area, not just Waterboro, but Limerick, this rural area. There's a lot of addiction, and illegal dealing and sales are rampant. I can't really get into detail, but it's pretty nasty. There's a lot of that going on. Summer underage drinking parties. The usual spots this year, they were pretty dead. I kept checking them, and there were weeds growing up in the usual spots. The usual spots. Early in the summer, I got together with the warden service, and we did some ATV patrol after we got some intel that there was going to be some big parties. And as the kids rolled in, we'd sit back in the bushes and then roll out with the ATVs with our lights on. And after about 5 carloads of kids came in, they got on the cell phone, and that was the end of the party. So I think it made them paranoid enough where they abandoned their traditional spots. I did find out at the end of the summer if anyone's familiar with Things Mills, the actual Things Mills, the dam out there, they'd been partying out there in the middle of God's country. And our informant said that one individual that's gotten into MMA fighting was actually holding fights out there at the pit party. So we never did catch that one. We went out there and found it, and I think the conservation people put a gate up so they couldn't get in there anymore. And I actually addressed this amateur MMA guy last weekend, and told him I'd heard about it. He denied it, of course, but hopefully that made him a little paranoid. Maybe he'll stop. Who knows? We had an alcohol detail, compliance check detail one day. A couple of us went out on ATVs and checked all these back party spots. Actually, it was on Labor Day. We expected a big deal on Labor Day. We didn't find a party, but we had the other fork of this was we had some people in a unmarked vehicle doing compliance checks with an individual under the age of 21. So a couple of businesses in town were checked, and they did a good job. They didn't sell to that person. So, like I said before, school's back in session. Do not pass school buses, because the bus drivers are excellent at getting your plate numbers, and Deputy Solomon or myself will be showing up and summonsing you. And it's a criminal violation. If I see you doing it, you're probably going to get arrested and your car towed. Don't loiter at businesses after school. You know, parents, if parents are going to be, both parents are working and you're not going to be home between 2 and 5 and your kids are out doing whatever, do you know what your kids are doing? Because we have a lot of complaints, you know, during the school year of just mischief between 2 and 5. You know, kids are out doing whatever they please at those hours, and parents don't know what they're doing. If you're a parent, do you know who your child's girlfriend or friends' names are? Do you talk to their parents and share intelligence about your kids? A lot of the issues we're having is due to poor parenting, in my opinion. Because the parents just don't know what their kids are doing. Some parents, a lot of parents are excellent. Most parents are excellent, but we have a small group that they don't seem to care. That's pretty much all I have. Just of note, Parsons Field just signed on for a contract deputy. I'm not sure when that's going to be starting up, but they were offered that grant and they voted on it. Acton and Shapley were going to combine as a contract. I don't know if they were going to vote on it this week. I don't know how the vote turned out. Anyone hear about that? I was kind of interested. I don't know if anyone knew about that.
I know about it, but I haven't heard about the vote yet.
So Parsons Field joined Waterboro, Leamington, and Arundel, so it'll be 4 towns. And maybe Acton and Shapley. I don't know yet, though. I'll have to check on that. So, any questions?
Deering Ridge and speeding. What's happening there?
I'm waiting for the signs.
Get the flags.
Get the flags. Okay,
Doug, you'll get the flags.
okay. Just the signs have to be,
Don't look at me like that. You gotta put the flags up.
well,
I got extra, so.
yeah, everything's gotta be erected before we do that, otherwise it's, and we have to, I'd like an article put out, or a warning, or something put out in the paper telling the public. Like I said, I'm not gonna ambush people with this, because it's gonna be a meat grinder. So. Anything else? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Okay. Moving right along. Hearing a delegation. Anybody that would like to speak, let us know. We're not on the agenda. I don't see anybody rush into the microphone. So. Correspondence. Got a whole list of stuff here. Treasurer's Weekly Financial Report, Representative Libby's newsletter. Information on York County Commissioner's prescription drug cards. So if anybody's interested in discounted prescriptions, the county is joined with other counties across the country and is offering a discount prescription drug card. So if you're interested in that, give a call to the office. Supposedly we have the cards here. We have the applications.
Now, is this information that we put on our website?
I think we could put that one up, right, David?
Yeah, put the form up too.
It's managed by CVS, I guess. And it looks like it's accepted everywhere. But there's a letter from Maine DOT telling us that the Old Alfred Road is yours. Then there's a letter from the road commissioner to the DOT saying, we think you did a terrible job paving the road. I'm not sure where that's going, but anyway, there's two bits of communications in there. Notification from MMA, Risk Management Services, dividend payment. Current list of vacancies on town boards and committees. We'll talk about that a bit later. Fireworks website survey results, which we've already kind of gone over. Planning Board 9/19, or tomorrow night's agenda for the Planning Board, and a letter from York County Manager, cancellation of the caucus for tomorrow night. Reports from staff and initiatives, reports and staff initiatives. Finance Committee, Diane, you speaking for the Finance Committee? No? All right. And we'll move right into RSU 57. Which one of you ladies would like to speak? Well, who would like to speak first? We can flip a coin to see who talks first? Okay.
Just taking my jacket off. I came from a soccer game.
Oh, sure.
Stop. Okay, my committees again, imagine, finance and negotiations. Negotiations, we haven't started, we've met once as a board. The only group that we're negotiating with this year is the MEA again, because it was only a one-year contract, so hopefully that goes better than it has in the past. Finance.
Or better than Chicago.
Oh, yeah, I know, better than Chicago. At least our teachers are working, I guess. Finance, we just really have started. We haven't really got into any meaty stuff yet. Most of our meetings are based on looking at the budget, what we've spent so far. Most of our expenses right now are just supplies, getting the school year up and running. And most of the meetings are about water. We have quite an issue about water. With most of the schools, I know Waterboro Elementary, they did 10 tests and 4 came back good. The DEP was supposed to be there today, as a matter of fact, with more tests. The test that he took a couple months ago, we still haven't gotten the results from. So we're hoping with this, taking the water from the middle school.
That's testing water from the Waterboro Water District through the system.
Through the system, to see. And like I said, they did 10 and 4 came back good and 6 failed. But we had only been on that for, I think, maybe less than a month when they took those tests. So they're hoping these tests that he takes today, because that'll be over 6 weeks. And then we discussed the grant that you guys were writing, I think, for the water, to bring the water. That's what we were told. Something about, yeah.
Wouldn't I agree to do that?
Yeah, well, I mean, the only thing that we got from Steve was that he asked the water district to give us a quote.
Right.
He came in and asked us if we were participating in a grant. We didn't commit to that. So, may have a little misinformation.
Well, the
Yeah,
way it
we'll
was
have to
left
check it,
was,
yeah.
is that the Waterboro Water District is supposed to get us a number for what it would take to extend the water to the fire station and
I'll have to check with the business manager, because I know that I understood it that way, that something was being written, but I'll
well,
check into
he
that.
was here the night that we had the meeting.
Right.
And Steve was here. I think they're looking to wrap up a bigger package than
Right.
what it is just moving from the middle school to the elementary.
Elementary
but
school, yeah.
There's been no commitment on the town's part.
Yeah, I think that he said that they were still looking into it. He told us that, but they were looking into numbers that could possibly pay a big portion of bringing that. And I thought he said a
There may
grant,
be a
yeah.
grant that they're working that
Well, that was
doesn't necessarily include us.
Right.
Yeah, that was the grant they wanted so that they could go and do the income surveys and
Right,
the
Right,
community
yes.
block grant.
yes,
I think they were asking us to participate in the study, right?
right.
And then that study would be used toward
Used towards
obtaining a
that,
grant.
yeah, yeah. So that's all in the process, and we're hoping that helps. But we had a false negative test in Shapley, but that's fine now too, so I think we're all set, except Waterboro. But that's been an ongoing thing for years. So as far as that goes, that's where we're at. We'll start the budget process, obviously, in the next probably month or so.
Hey, just give us a heads up on the budget. It would be nice to know when you guys start looking at the initial numbers.
Okay.
You know, is that gonna be, you know, and I realize there's a lot of work that takes place, but the initial numbers sometimes shock everybody, but it would be nice to at least know what the shock is early.
I'll email Dee, because Dee did agree to stay on for another year. So we have him for another year as business manager. So I'll email him tonight when I get home, let him know. But that's
Yeah, I
pretty
mean,
much
if it's,
it.
I mean, I know the state's gonna be doing things and all that
Right.
good stuff, but, you know,
We're hoping to get through the year without any curtailment of any type.
Don't hold your breath.
Yeah, I know. We can wish, though. But that's pretty, like I said, we're just starting, so as far as my two committees,
Okay.
that's where we're at. Lisa's got all the information, though.
Speaking of committees, we did do a change with the board regarding the committees. We've only had 2 board meetings so far, so there isn't a lot up and running for the board this year, but at this past board meeting, what we did with the PR committee is we've added a technology component onto that. So the PR committee will work both for public relation things as well as looking at the technology aspect of the district. And one of the changes that the PR committee is looking at, and we're kind of starting to get the information out a little bit, is changing the names of the elementary schools in the district. Because another change in the committees is that transportation is being added to and given a charge of looking at redistricting. And when we looked at this a few years ago, it created quite a stir. And in conjunction with this redistricting, we're looking at changing the names of the elementary schools to reflect the Massabesic name and not the individual town names, because people become very connected to their town's school and they don't want to go somewhere else, even though their child is actually closer to that school than they are, physically to the school in which, the town in which they live.
I can't imagine why anybody would do that.
And it will ultimately save the district because of bus runs for shorter distances to transport kids, and kids are not on the bus quite as long, and it can alleviate some overcrowding in some areas, and some schools that don't have a lot of student population, it could increase their population. So it's not anything that's set in stone yet, but it is something that we're going to be looking at this year. So you may hear that come up. Also with our school board meetings this year, we've gone back to moving around. And we did Shapley at the last meeting. We were at Shapley. And when we go to those schools, it gives the administrator in that school the opportunity to do a State of the Schools address to the board of what all's going on in that school. It also gives the board members the opportunity to go and see every school in the district, because some of them aren't as familiar with the schools as others. Mostly we meet, though, in the East building at the high school now, and not in the middle school building. If you go on the district's website, which is www.rsu57.org, and you scroll to the very bottom of the page, across the bottom, you click on School Board, it will pull up the schedule of the school board meetings, and tells you where we're going to be meeting and everything. I'm going to give you just some highlights of the different schools, because again, there isn't a lot going on at the board right now. At Waterboro Elementary, our current enrollment this year is 547 students. They've had 53 new enrollments since August. The student to classroom teacher ratio is 20-1 there. The building size they feel is adequate for their population now, but they do feel that it's undersized in the space of the library and in the space of the cafeteria. The total staff at Waterboro Elementary School is 75 full and part-time people. And in our current budget, we did reinstate the vice principal position at Waterboro Elementary, I think for obvious reasons, of 547 kids in the school and one administrator. It was difficult for him to get any evaluations done, plus taking care of any kind of discipline issues and attending meetings that he needed to attend. And they have a very active PTC, and right now they have a campaign in place to raise money to improve the playground at Waterboro Elementary. At Massabesic High School, the current population is 783 students. If you want it broken down by town, Mr. Fisher gratefully broke it down by town for me, but I won't give you that unless you ask me for it. And okay. Newfield 39 students, Shapley 95 students, Alfred 95 students, Lyman 138 students, Limerick 110, and Waterboro 306. The staff has 36 content teachers, 8 specialists, 16 special ed providers, 19 support staff, for a total of 104 staff members there. 3 teachers have started an after-school geography club, and they're doing it volunteer. 3 teachers are going to start a civil rights team, which they're doing volunteer. The 6th grade science teachers are going to vital signs training, and they'll join the 7th grade teachers that have already been trained at Massabesic Middle School. Vital Signs is a collaborative program with Stanford University. The students use the outdoor environment to study and track invasive plant and animal species, and they collaborate with scientists around the world through technology. They're also beginning their 4th year in a partnership with UNE in the 8th grade science department. UNE provides graduate assistant work with our students on various science projects, and they have access to all of UNE's resources. And last year, Massabesic Middle School was awarded a $1,000 grant in the Zero Waste Challenge for their cafeteria recycling program they started. This year, they're extending the program by working with a local farm to take their collected food waste and turn it into compost. At Massabesic High School, I'm going to hit some of the high points of the class of 2012. It was a graduating class of 234, one of the largest classes we've had. Total scholarships earned by the graduating class, 98 different scholarships totaling $81,229. Colleges that some of the students would be attending would be Bates, Bowdoin, Colby, SMCC, University of Maine Farmington, USM, University of Maine Orono, YCCC, UNH, College of the Holy Cross, Springfield College, Simmons College, Stonehill College, Suffolk University, and Harvard University. The volunteer hours completed by the class of 2012 were 11,192.5 volunteer hours. And the courses earned by 2012 seniors over their junior and senior year college courses were 143 college courses. The current the current enrollment at Massabesic High School is 1,061 students, but they've told me that that changes pretty much on a daily basis, so don't hang your hat on that. And for staff, they have 160 staff members, 95 teachers, 30 ed techs, 8 custodians, 2 maintenance people, 8 kitchen workers, 2 American Sign Language interpreters, 4 administrators, 5 guidance personnel, 5 secretaries, and 1 nurse. For athletics, so far, there are 21 athletic teams between Massabesic High School and Massabesic Middle School. At the high school, there's cross-country, football, field hockey, girls soccer, boys soccer, cheering, and golf, with 16 coaches and 241 students. That's a ratio of about 15 students to 1 coach. At the middle school, there's girls soccer for 7th and 8th grade, boys soccer for 7th and 8th grade, field hockey for 7th and 8th grade. There are 6 coaches, 160 students, with a ratio of 27 students to 1 coach. There are 14 activities at Massabesic High School, which include things like math team, student council, National Honor Society, Odyssey of the Mind, culture club, civil rights team, jazz band, pep band, and drama. For the transportation department, we have 53 buses when they're all on the road. Our oldest bus is from 1995, and it has approximately 254,000 miles on it. We have over 40 contracted drivers, 5 van drivers, and 12 spare drivers. The buses last school year drove 956,188 miles. The vans did 80,409 miles for a total of 1,036,597 miles for the district in the year 11-12. A new bus costs about $84,000. A handicap bus costs $88,000, and each day the district uses 7,000 gallons. 7,000 gallons every 10 days is what's delivered for fuel for the buses. So, as I think I've stated here before, we drive the equivalent of from Maine to California and back to Chicago every day on buses. So we're obviously a very large district. And I also wanted to tell you, again, I know I made some mention of it before, but they wanted me to mention about Project Grad and how appreciative they were of the town and the businesses in the town. It says, initially the Project Grad Committee sent letters to parents, businesses, and many community organizations. We raised $3,000 or more from the community sponsors, businesses, and parents, raised about $4,000 from fundraisers. We went back to many of those same businesses to purchase gift cards for every person who attended Project Grad, worth $5 each. Each of the 3 businesses we bought gift cards from gave us 25 gift cards for free. We also bought gift certificates from local businesses as part of the prize/raffles for the night of Project Grad, and the vast majority gave us more than the actual face value. We had local businesses make up our sandwich platters and breakfast platters. Some donated soda, water, snacks, etc. We also bought paper products from local stores, and we used a local business to do graphics for our mugs and chairs. In addition, most of those businesses had made a contribution to Project Grad when we sent general letters to area businesses, so many actually donated more than once. We had donations of cash, TVs, electronics, and many businesses allowed us to place donation jars at their establishments. The support was unbelievable. So kudos to all of the local businesses, and kudos, this was the first year that Project Graduation was taken on as a parent-run organization. It had always been run by a teacher at the high school, but he had retired. Kudos to those parents for putting back into the communities and purchasing things for the students and using our local businesses to supply Project Graduation. The last bit of information I want to give you tonight, would you mind taking those? You're going to see what Mary's handing out is the Massabesic High School Work Habits rubric. This is something that's being instituted at Massabesic High School this year. It is now in place. One of the reasons I had asked Christina Silberman to move me from last week to this week was because last week at this time they were doing an informational session at the high school on this particular rubric, and I wanted to make sure that I was at that. This will show up on the students' Infinite Campus report, which is an electronic report of their grades, and they can go into the computer and check their grades and see if they're missing any work. This is not for this year. This will not show up on any graduating student's transcript. and it will not be taken into account in any way, shape, or form as far as them being eligible to participate in any kind of extracurricular activities. They're trying to give a broader picture of if a parent calls and says, why does my child have an 84 in this class? They can look at the work habits and say, you know, they're not showing up for class, or they don't turn their stuff in on time, or they're not doing what it is they need to do in the work of the class. So right now, this is what they're using, and it is quite a change, and some people do have some concerns about it, so I wanted to make you aware of it in case anybody at your end of it got any phone calls about the subversive actions at Massabesic High School and anything like that. In the future, once they have fine-tuned this after the second trimester, this obviously is a fluid document, and after the second trimester ends, they'll begin looking at it, seeing where they can maybe make some changes. They're going to get input from the staff and from the students. And for next year, at least as it stands now, these grades, as reported, will end up on a student's transcript. So it will be something that colleges will see when a student applies to college. They will begin to see these numbers that show up. So that's pretty much it, I think, unless you have questions on anything.
Comment. In changing the school names, my guess is the resistance you're going to get is not going to be worth any money that is saved, and I question whether there's a major reason in quality of education that's going to result from changing the name of the school. And so I may be wrong on this, but my guess is you're going to get a great deal of resistance. Is it worth it to go and get the small gains that you're looking for?
Well, and that's something that we'll determine. You know, we're putting it out there. We're hoping to work with the PTC groups at the elementary schools, because obviously it won't affect the middle school or the high school. But we want to see if we can work with the PTC at the elementary schools and try to start getting a feel, having some forums with people and trying to see how they feel about it. I'm sure Mary very well remembers when we tried to do some redistricting probably about 4 years ago, and we got ripped apart. As the board, we got completely ripped apart at multiple public forums.
And there's two steps. One is saying there's no longer a Waterboro Elementary School, and then the next step is who you're naming it after.
We're not naming it after
anybody. There's got to be a lot of heat on both directions.
They would all have the name Massabesic. Every elementary school would have the name of Massabesic, and it would be done based on where they are in the district. As to we would change the name of what used to be the junior high at the high school, because right now it's called Massabesic East, and then the main building is Massabesic West. We would change that. They would have to do, name them something else, but we would take the elementary schools. There would be a Massabesic North, South, East, West, and Central elementary school. The only school that has anything associated with it along a name line would be Shapley Memorial Elementary School. And we have already begun the process of, why does it have the word memorial in it? For whom is it memorializing? So it's not something that's definitely going to happen, but we feel that there is a disconnect in the communities. And people are constantly, well, what elementary school did they come from? When they go into the middle school, well, what elementary school did they come from? And we want to see some of that change. We are one district, and we need for people to see that we're one district, that we work together for the betterment of the whole district, not for just some towns and not other towns. It's something we're looking at. It's not set in stone, but we want to give it a shot because we feel that it may smooth the way for the redistricting, which truly needs to be done. And as long as people are tied to the name of a school, we're going to be fought on the redistricting. And the redistricting will help us financially, as I said, with some of the transportation issues and some of the overcrowding issues, and the fact that you may have to hire an entirely new kindergarten teacher at Waterboro Elementary because you have too many kids to place them in the current number of kindergarten classes. So does that mean also now we have to get another portable because we don't have classroom space for another teacher? But maybe at Shapley, they've got class sizes of 9 kindergarten kids. And Waterboro has 20 kindergarten kids in every class.
I don't want to argue, but I don't know
Right.
what changing the school's name is going to do with what you're talking about. You know, it's
Because if you live in Shapley, you want your child to go to Shapley Elementary. If you live in Waterboro, you want your child to go to Waterboro Elementary. But you may live 7 minutes from Line Elementary School, and you may live 20 minutes from Waterboro
I'm not
Elementary
going to feel
School.
that about Massabesic West or Massabesic East, you know? Is it going to be any different?
Well, I
So
like...
anyway, I guess,
yeah.
I don't want to
It
go there.
Yeah.
may change in time.
Right, and I'd like to give the opportunity for us to take a look at that and get a feel from the parents for whom this will most affect.
I think we call that a significant emotional event.
Yeah.
2 quick questions. Massabesic Middle School had the grant on the zero waste.
Yes.
Is anything being done relative to what they discovered and what David Pope, I think, was a teacher that headed that up? Has any of that been transferred to Massabesic High School or any of the other schools? Because there's significant savings in waste cost, all right? And it's something that we've been trying to poke at, and we really need to get back with Dee. And because part of that effort at the middle school, the town is still a bit involved in pulling the recyclables out of there. So there's a point in time where we're going to have to say that, you know, that's going to have to go back to the school. But
I know finance is talking about that. That's a big thing on our agenda, but our problem lies with trying to get a teacher to volunteer to help. You need an adult in that building to kind of head it, and that lies our issue. But we are researching the new lighting and stuff like that. We're looking at recycling. That's one of the things for our agenda this year.
But when all said and done, Mary, whether it's an organization, a company, or whatever, if the company at the very highest level decides we are going to become recyclably friendly, then you find the people that are going to do that. Seems like we always, in this side of it, have tried to find a teacher so that we could build it from the bottom up. It's going to come from the top down.
It actually is. I know that the superintendent has discussed it with finance. That's why that's one of our agenda items this year. To work on
Because
recycling.
they found some huge
Yeah.
opportunity
Huge
there. So.
Yep.
The other
And-
thing is to jump. You've got this the rubric, as you called it. Do we measure teachers' performance in a matrix?
Not yet. The state has mandated that by the school year 2015-2016, every district must have a way of measuring teacher performance as well as administrator performance. And we have to have something along these lines, something similar, in place. And that just passed this summer. And so there will be, as we go forward, the work of setting that up for teacher evaluation as well as principal evaluation. I shouldn't say administrative evaluation, but principal evaluation as well. And so there will be rubrics set for that. And that, at this point at least, under this administration for the state, with Commissioner Bowen and Governor LePage, it is in place that it has to be on board by 2015-2016 school year.
Gordon?
The enrollment, is the percentage of enrollment up? The bottom line figure, are we up over last year? I noticed you said we had 53 new students, but that I didn't really know how that equated to the total enrollment figure.
I wouldn't be able to answer that question. I don't know compared to last year how it is, but I could certainly find out and get that back to you. I do know that we're seeing larger classes coming into the elementary schools because of certain storms there's an increase in population, and that's been documented, and so it's certain
Climate change. I'm telling you, we gotta fight
certain
it.
bubble years when there's been large power outages, then we do see, following in about 5 years, we see an increase in the enrollment in schools. And right now, we do have a significant bubble in the elementary schools. So how it would compare to last year, I couldn't tell you, but if you'd like that information, I can get it and get it to you.
No reason to stay on top of Central Maine.
That's right. Anything else?
The superintendent is what, his second year, starting the second year?
Yes.
Okay. What, how do I say this? What are his strengths, and what have you seen different like about his way of operating? Let's put it that way.
What do we see different
Yeah,
in the way he operates
the
the district?
Positive.
Well, given the fact that we are, performance-based, and even if we hadn't already been on that bandwagon, we'd be forced to be on it because, again, the state has mandated that every district has to be fully implemented performance-based standards by the year 2017, unless you request a waiver, and then you only have until 2020. So I think one of his greatest strengths is that he's very well versed in the performance-based standards arena. And so he is able to give us excellent guidance with that, where, we might, I don't think we'd be struggling, but I think we can jump a couple of steps ahead because we have his guidance with that. So.
Is he still doing the dual role of being the superintendent in 2 different districts?
I know he did through last school year. I don't know what his contract is with Jackman for this school year. And right now, we have not heard any differently that, right now he's the superintendent through the end of this school year. But by law, we have to notify the state of our intent with a superintendent by December. And so we will, as a board, we will need to address that and any intent that he may have of whether he's interested in staying in this district and whether we're interested in continuing his employment. We have to have that determined by December because we have to notify in writing the state of where we're going to be standing as far as having a superintendent.
What's that?
And I don't know if Mary had anything as far as the superintendent that she wanted to add.
Oh, I think the communication is way better as far as board members go, because we hear everything, whether we want to hear it or not, really. He keeps us informed at everything that happens. Something little, he'll just give us a note saying, this has happened, I'll get back to you later to give you more details on it. I think he really is trying to build that communication between everybody in the district. And I know he tried with the selectmen last year, and he's willing to come at any time. So I think he's got a huge strength in communication, which is what this district, I think, needs.
Well, you seem to have some common sense,
Yeah.
which is nice today.
Or any day.
Well, in our society, right,
All right. Well, thank you, ladies.
The only other thing I have is a gift for the selectmen from our chair of the Project Grad Committee. So she said, please give them some mugs. They were
Is there anything in those mugs?
No. I don't
consider filling it
compare
up,
that kind of gift. But they were printed locally in the town of Waterboro. So there you go. You can compare them proudly.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate the update. All right, road commission.
Are you up for re-election?
I am.
Yeah.
My turn.
You should have given a thumbs up.
She should have followed behind you with something to put in the side.
Well, I'm still going back and forth because I have a graduate and I have a sophomore this year, so.
Okay.
Another 3 years is fine.
Yeah, see, that's what's
We have to wake him up?
Yeah, I was going to poke him a little bit there.
I don't know if any of you have been down the Old Alfred Road, but the state kindly put some slop on the side of the roads today. And after the first 5 minutes of rain, a bus pulled off of the shoulder of it, and it reminded you of something that shouldn't be repeated in public, but it was very soft, and
Mushy.
it no longer is beside the road. It just kind of went like that, and it was gone. And they were not using what appeared to be a high quality material. And on top of that, in places, they might have had 4-inch lip, and instead of running the shoulder out with a 3/8 of an inch pitch on it, they just went from here to there, just like that. And the volume of material that they should have put down was greatly decreased by the poor workmanship they used in putting it down. So, it's shouldered. That's what we asked for. If you all read the letter, anybody got any questions on the letter? Was it inappropriate, or, I thought we got to the point.
Yep.
All right. Well, as of 10:15 this morning, the power lines on New Dam Road were changed over. The power is now on the new poles. 8:30 Thursday morning, OTT is going to be there with their crew and 2 subcontracted crews to change the telephone over. After that, we'll have Time Warner, who God and all his disciples will be the only one that knows when they might show up. OTT contacted them, told them they were going to have traffic control people on site, that they would be willing to leave there while they did their work, and also that they would assist them in doing their work if they wanted them to. But last I knew, they had no response. I've contacted Dayton Sand. They've agreed to bring their grinder back and grind that small section on Thursday in the afternoon or first thing Friday morning. They were going to do it Thursday morning, but being OTT is going to be there, I had to reschedule that. The guardrails for both Mass Camp Road and Derigo Drive have been fully installed. The lake is dropping. Was dropping at a better rate, but now it is kind of slacked off as we've lost all head pressure. We have, I believe, 16 inches of water. 16, Dennis?
About that, 14,
Going through the
16.
gates at this point in time, and it's just kind of lazily draining and like it had all the time in the world, which it does. And the spigot is putting out. Mr. Dam Man has the spigot wide open. It's putting out all the water it can put out, which is 100%, which is, it's some, but it's not a lot. So, we have, of the existing planks, as of 3 o'clock this afternoon, we had 5 planks still underwater, roughly 7 inches of water at the last plank out. What we're going to have tomorrow morning is up for discussion. McLucas Road, I guess we've put in some new culverts and driveways where there never was culverts. The town never required the people to put in culverts, but I called Nancy today because I refused to put in 2 culverts in one driveway, one lot. I told them that, because they never were required to put one in, and we're ditching it and building it up differently, or we're ditching it, that we would install 1 culvert, but they gracefully agreed to pay for their own culvert for the second driveway, which I felt was in the town's best interest. We've got the hill cut down substantially. A good part of the tree work has been completed today. The ditching will be completed in another day or a day and a half, and we'll be ready to skin it with gravel and be ready for pavement. The garden has arranged with the people at the campground so that we can do the culverts crossings without worrying about trying to keep the road open for traffic, because it would be a bugger to do that where the road is so narrow. And Gordon's made arrangements for the traffic to flow through the campground to do that during the time we're doing that, and hopefully that'll be a 8-hour, 9-hour job and it'll be done. There's 2 existing culverts in there. One of them I can see, it's pretty well rusted. The second one is there, but we can't see it. So that's about the skinny on there. Any questions?
No, we ought to resolve the issue with the dam. I know that
I
Doug is...
brought a little sketch. That one, whoop, sketch is almost falling down. Can everybody see the sketch? This total tan piece of cardboard is the width of the inside of the dam. The dam from here to the top of the grates is 7 feet. Right now, there is approximately a 3-foot lip inside the gate, inside the dam, that's lower than the gates. So that is roughly about here. That's how much water the lake we can't draw other than what comes out through the spigot that Don's opened up. It's a 12-inch pipe. What I was proposing to do was to get a concrete circular saw, and they'll go in there and cut a 24-inch hole. That'll allow 4 times the water to flow out that's flowing out through that 12-inch pipe. Probably considerably more than 4 inches, because we're putting water through a 16 or 18 inches of restriction, where this will be very narrow and much larger, so the flow will be far greater. I went to the town's engineers, the engineers that designed the dam, and they went back and got the original specs out on it. It's a monolithic dam, which, for those who don't know, means the entire dam was poured in one structure and brought down here from Lewiston on a truck and set in there with a crane. That dam was not a poured-in-place dam. It was a dam that was set in there. So we'd like to take a manhole saw and saw this out. When we were done, we would take a 1/2-inch plate, 32 inches square, put 8 holes in the plate, put a 3-inch rubber gasket around it, put a plate on both sides of the dam like a sandwich, and bolt it right back together. They believe the integrity of the dam would be just as strong when it was done as it was before. So that's the proposal. In future years, if you wanted to put a gate up and you appropriated the money to put a gate up, you could do that, but none of us here may be alive time to ever want to drain the dam down again, or may want to do it in 2 or 3 years, but it would be an opportunity to do it. And I'm asking the selectmen to authorize not over $2,500. I believe that the boring is going to cost $750. That's what the gentleman estimates it's going to be. We've got to make the steel plates. We've got to buy them and prepare them. I was planning to put a giant hook up here somewhere on the top of this, so that in the future, if we wanted to take it off, we would take the bolts out and then hire a crane to come in and pull the spigot away from the end of the dam. Any questions?
I'm trying to get this visual of someone standing up to, in 6 inches of muck up to their navel in water and then going underwater with a saw and sawing this hole out. Is that how it's going to be done?
Part of the money that we're going to use is, I've made a list, and if this gets a positive vote, Tommy's going to the lumber yard tomorrow morning, and we're going to build a backstop, if you will, or a dam stop inside the gates, and we're going to build a stop that would stop any backflow of water coming from anywhere else, and the actual work is going to be done from inside the dam out.
Well,
So we would drill the dam, it's 12 inches thick. We would drill it something like 11 3/4 inches. and then stop. You take all your equipment out, and then you knock out the plug. You break a very little bit of concrete that's left. A couple blows, or a few blows if you're lucky, with a sledgehammer, and the thing will kind of come in.
No, you do the same procedure, Doug, as far as reducing the flow of water when you unscrew those bolts and take that thing off? How would that work?
Well, what we'll do is we'll put two wedge-shaped pieces on the bottom of this steel plate that will set actually internally in the dam. And they'll be made like a teepee like this being a flat side up here, and they'll come out like this, so that when you start to pull it, you can lift it right up, and as these come up against the top of the hole, it'll just pull itself out. But this will hold it. And when you go to take the bolts out of this, to remove this, that was you're asking, right?
Yeah.
You get inside the dam, you take the nuts off the bolts, push the bolts out, and then static pressure will hold that plate against that dam. When you go to do that, if the dam's full, you're going to have 7 feet of static pressure holding that plate in there.
But I would think that you're gonna be in water doing it, right?
Yeah. Losing water when we try to take the gates off.
Hey Doug, is there a floor to this dam? There's a concrete floor to this dam.
Concrete floor.
And on top of that concrete floor, they filled the inside of the dam with large boulders to disrupt that flow in there. I don't know about the height of those rocks, but I think it's above where you're gonna put that hole.
Well, we may have to move the rocks.
Maybe, did you put the big rock in there?
Nope.
I don't know what's in there for rocks.
There's rocks. And they're all around that check valve that's in there right now. They're within inches of it.
Dennis is gonna go up and move that big one.
One of the concerns that I have is, I'm not sure how we got to this point, because I was here 8 months ago when we talked about, well, we're gonna open up that check valve and we're gonna drop the lake 5 feet. When I was asked that, I said, well, I've monitored this lake and controlled the level of this lake for 10 years. On 3 occasions, I've tried to drop it 3 feet for shoreline repair that we do every 5 years, and I've never yet got it to 3 feet. So we knew this 8 months ago. We're in a situation now that, here it is, September 20th or 18th, and we're in a situation where we feel we need to, because the lake's only dropping 1.25 inches a day, we need to cut this hole in there. Now, the purpose of doing this early was so that we would be able to put men in the water while the water's still at a normal temperature, a reasonable temperature. But now, we've pulled the gates, and we pulled them early, which caused the lake to drop faster than what the people planned on, and believe it or not, the people know how this lake drops and how this lake rises. And caught a lot of people by surprise because the lake drops so much. And you got people who are renters this month. I know people that came up from Philadelphia for the month to enjoy the lake. They're in their 80s. And we're talking about now trying to drop the lake 5 feet. I know those people worried about their points and so on. The other people worried about getting their water for their home. Problem is, I don't see a plan, and I think you've all said it. We don't know when we're going to get the gates back. Well, what if we get the gates back in December? Is the water going to be too cold to put the gates back in?
It's not just the work on the gates that we're doing. We're doing the work on the ramp, and we have to do it between July 15th and October 1st. July 15th would have been the time to drop the lake down. That's why we went to the end. So we have a week from Monday to get the ramp rebuilt. That's what we need to lower it for.
Well, the ramp got replaced back, whatever it was, 10 years ago, and I know they worked in the water then. Fred Fay did the work. He did a good job. And I would think that we could put those slabs in, if we got the equipment wet.
But there's gonna be more work done than just laying new slabs.
Yep, I understand that. But with this gate, we've now got the gates out. And we're talking about spending the money to put this in. And if it was me and you wanted a plan, I would tell you to abort where we're going with this, put the gates back on, and move forward with a coffer dam around that dam, and then you can do it any time of the year that you want. And you can probably borrow a coffer dam from the state. And you can do it at any time of the year and not disrupt what we got going right now. When you drop the lake 5 feet, I would think there's going to be some environmental impacts on those wetlands. So I'm thinking that
Well, if it goes to
if
the,
you need money for a coffer dam, then let's go raise it over the next 2 or 3 years. But let's do this right and not get into what we're into right now.
Well, I think a coffer dam's gonna be a lot more expensive and a lot more time consuming than this idea right here.
But we don't know.
but the coffer dam is only gonna do, would only work for the replacement of the gates. It ain't gonna help us at all about tearing up this boat launch and extending the planks out for another, how many rows?
We got 50 planks, where are we going
Well,
out?
the planks is only part of it. They've got to change the pitch
Yeah, we're
on
changing the
that,
pitch and
and then
everything.
they've got to fill in that huge hole that people have created from power launching and power loading and so forth.
But you can't go down below 3 feet, correct?
4.
Four.
I thought it was 3 feet.
Four.
But we haven't investigated the coffer dam approach as far as cost. You can get one from the state. Did somebody put it in? I don't understand. Actually, right now, we've got a foot of water going over the top of where the gates are right now. Why we can't put people in the water on both those gates belong.
Well, I think the
Now, are we
gate,
lowering the lake for the dam, or are we lowering the lake for the boat launch?
right now, we're lowering it for both, but the priority is for the boat launch. Boat launch has gotta be done by October 1st.
I would think you could pull those gates off right now.
One of them's almost off.
We don't have that much water in there.
No,
And
there's,
Doug said he was gonna dig out on either side of the dam.
you got what, 14 inches of, 14, 16 inches of water yesterday, so there's gotta be, what, 14 or 13 inches of water today running over the top of the bottom of the gate.
And when those gates come back, you put somebody in a wetsuit, bolt them back on.
That's ultimately what was supposed to happen here. So,
Do you know when they're gonna come back yet? Is there a date, any time?
well, they're going to Massachusetts to be regasketed, right? So, I would think that we could get what's the turnaround time from the day
Last
that
time,
they
I
get
don't know if you've talked to them, last time I talked to them, they said probably 2 days, 2 to 3 days.
So if you pull the gates, how much more is that gonna hurt the lake?
None.
None.
Nothing.
Not an
So-
inch.
Right now, I've taken the gates and taken them apart and raised the gates up. So you've
So
got
you're not
maximum,
gonna gain anything.
there's nothing, the gates come off, you're not gonna gain anything.
And how does the state put in all these boat launches around the entire state? You don't drain every lake to do it. Fred put it in, the lake wasn't down that far.
Because
Did
he
it
only,
put it
he
in
did,
water?
he's not, he just replaced planks, he's not doing the work that we're gonna be doing up there. We're extending it, making it deeper so there'll be no vehicles going into the water. We're extending the ramp out so that there'll be no more, I mean, that hole's what, 4.5 feet deep out there from power loading? It's going out beyond that to stop that. There's 50 planks up there, correct?
Yes.
So can this operation here, Doug, be done and quick enough so that water's gonna go down? Or do we have time enough to do this and have the water lower for the boat launch?
That's a question, David, that I cannot answer.
Let's put it this way, can this be done this week?
The man is scheduled to be here Thursday morning, subject to my call tomorrow morning to cancel him. That was what,
That was a discussion we had. If you schedule them, you can always cancel them.
and I told him, I said, you know, when can you do it? He said, I can do it in a few days' notice. That was Monday when I called him. And I called him back and said, you know, I'd like to put me on the schedule for Thursday. I mean, this thing's very portable. They go around, you know, day jobs everywhere. That's what their business is. I said, will you put me on the schedule for Thursday? And he said, yes, I will. And I said, I'll call you Wednesday morning with a yay or a nay. And, you know, it makes absolutely no difference to me. But we've got the planks sitting up there. And, you know, right now, we're out in the water. I think there's 30 planks in there right now. So we're out there like 38 feet or something. And when we get done, we're going to be out there closer to 60. And where we want to go to, we've got to dry up that hole in order to regrade that. And whatever we do, DEP says we can do anything that we want to do, but we can't put any equipment in the lake.
So, you know, if we get this underway, let's say this week or early next week, and the water level isn't down enough to get the construction of the ramp done by October 1st, but it's underway, is the bottom of the, you know, what's going to be the difference there? Is if we're a couple days late in finishing that project on the ramp, is that a
The minute the lake is low enough, we're going to go in and remove all the planks that are in there. We're going to grade the bottom of the lake, and we're going to put those planks that we can put back in.
If it's October 4th and you're finishing the job, is DEP going to come in and fine the town because we're 4 days late?
I would say that we've made every effort to do it, and we've done all the work we could do ahead of time. It's, you know,
Yep.
It's a discussable thing. There's no question but what you can get a permit to work after that, but the time frame to get the permit is forever, and you gotta go through that's a whole series of things. That's why we stopped at the 4-foot level.
Yep.
Because as long as we stay 4 feet below the top of the dam, the town of Waterboro owns that property. That is not under state control. So the lease and land regulatory.
I hope that's not a symbol of things to come.
Yeah. The lease and land regulatory group up there has said because the lake was raised 4 feet from its original level when the dam was installed originally, that the town of Waterboro still has control over that 4 feet of depth of water.
Yeah, I guess the real question is that if we do nothing and we continue just letting the water flow the way it is, I don't think you ever get it down 4 feet.
Maybe in November.
I don't think it ever gets there. Because I
Won't
think,
go below 3 feet.
I think you lose the head that's there, and
There's constant water coming into the lake
Right.
from the springs and from the brooks.
Right.
What's coming in is going up.
so you've got 3-4 more inches of water that's gonna drain out of that lake, and then it's gonna,
Equalize.
it's still gonna be water running out of through the gates, but you're not gonna be seeing any drop. So the only way you're gonna get down to the bottom of those gates is to provide some other access to get it there, right?
We're down 21 inches today. Like that.
We gotta have more water going out than we're taking in,
Absolutely.
in order for that to do that.
And that's the only way that you're gonna get to the point where we can not put a machine in the water, or
But
very
do we
much.
know that? I mean, have we gone out and say if the lake was a foot lower, you can measure it from where the water edge is and say, go out, I got a foot of water, this is where it's gonna be if the lake goes a foot lower. Or if it goes 2 feet lower, we're gonna be over there. Do we know where that is?
Yeah.
Are we gonna reach that point?
We have an
enough out?
We have an engineered plan.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had an engineer out there, and done it, we have a plan that was submitted to the Board of Selectmen on changing the pitch of the slope and then leveling it off to try to stop the, the game wardens have been pushing for some time to do something about this power loading hole out there. If you remember, I suggested the selectmen put a sign up there, $250 for anybody who's caught power loading, you know what I mean? But there is a hole there that is, really quite dangerous. When Owens McCullough walked out there, he didn't know just where the hole was, and because he's not,
He's vertically
Vertically
challenged.
yeah, he's vertically challenged, and he stepped into the hole, and we almost had to send Charlie out with his Speedo to get him out of the hole, but it didn't
Submersible
work that way.
engineer.
Luckily, he had a grade rod that stabilized himself, and he got very wet very quick. But, to answer your question, we did have it engineered done, so that we knew where the water level had to be in order to do this work on dry land and to change the slope. It makes no difference to me one way or the other,
Okay, where are we gonna find $2,500 or whatever it is he's asking for this job?
We're doing the work on the ramp and everything else out of the municipal fund budget, or the emergency fund budget. I would guess that's where this would come
So
from.
that's in there?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And I'm not sure you're gonna spend $2,500.
No, I'm not either.
Are we gonna be better served in the long run if we implement this procedure that you've outlined this evening, or the procedure that Don has mentioned? 5 years from now, are we gonna be better off this way, or with a cofferdam?
Well, he's talking about a cofferdam around the dam to change the gates.
Right.
That's not gonna address the boat launch.
Right. That's what I thought. So we're gonna be better off 5 years from now by having this plan, because we can, if we want to, drop the water down again very quickly and just put that right back in place.
If you want to wait
You may never have to pull that plug again.
Where's the center of the big hole? How many feet down is that from the top of the dam?
Say that again?
Where is the big hole that you're planning on putting in the side of the dam? Where is the center line of that hole? How far down from the top of the dam is the center line of that big hole?
Well, from the grates,
No, from the top of the dam.
well, I don't know, because Dennis and I took our dimensions from the grate. We didn't take it from the top of the.
But we took the center of that hole, Don, is gonna be 12 inches below the bottom of that gate. So in other words, the top of the hole and the gate, bottom of the gate, same level.
Where is the,
But the point that you bring up about some rocks being on the inside, I guess we'd have to look at,
yeah, there's some big stuff in there. After they fill
because I
it
know
all
they
in.
put that in there to disrupt the
Right.
water and all that stuff.
So where is the center of that hole in relationship to the center of the check valve?
It's probably a foot
Lower.
lower.
Oh, it is lower, but I can't tell you
Yeah.
how much.
Problem is where the valve is and the screen out in front of the valve and all that stuff, you really can't get a good feel for that.
I don't know exactly how high that valve is off the bottom of the dam. I can tell you that this opening right here is going to be 4 inches off the bottom of the dam. And I can raise it up, you know?
I make a motion that we proceed ahead with this
I'll second.
plan.
Now, we need to add it to the agenda, but make a motion to add this to the
Make a
agenda.
motion to add it to the agenda.
Second that.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor? All right, we'll add it to new business, number 1. Anything else?
Can we just do it now under the staff initiative?
If you'd like to move it up to that, I'd
So moved.
accept that.
Second.
Any discussion on moving it up? All those in favor? Now I'd entertain a motion. What's your pleasure on going forward with this?
I make a motion that we proceed to follow through on this addition of the 2-foot diameter relief valve, or hole, whatever we're gonna call it.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Before I leave, can I ask you to move another item on your agenda up? Item 5 under something? New business, item 5, and move it up so I can
All right.
move out of here.
I'd entertain a motion to.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? All right.
You're building a community garden. We have a substantial pile of topsoil that's been piled up for years. I mentioned it to Nancy. It's got to be moved in the town pit. Then if she could find somebody to screen it, maybe it would do people some good down there. We also have the fencing that is around the infamous pits that we need to remove.
Lagoons.
The lagoons. So somewheres along the line, some of that's going to be reused, because we're going to take the gate that goes to the transfer station, which has been destroyed, to our highway department, which has been destroyed for years. And when you pull up there, you have to stop in the road, get out and open the gate. Anybody coming over the top of that hill will ram you. So we're going to move the gate in about 75 or 80 feet so that you can actually pull into the entranceway. So we need some fence for there. But there is a substantial amount of fence, and we're going to take it down. So, you know, I have no problem with letting the community garden have some topsoil.
I make a motion to let the community garden committee utilize the topsoil and any excess fencing from the highway department.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Does this topsoil pile, Doug, have bamboo in it?
No. At this time, to the best of my knowledge, it does not,
You
David.
can't see it growing right now.
No, this is stuff that we've stripped off the pit over the years.
Yeah.
I'll tell you all right now, it probably does not have a high degree of quality to it. But with some proper nurturing, I'm sure that it can be generated into something much better quality than it is. It's a sandy topsoil, but it's been piled up, and every time we go to crush, we have to move some over and move it over, and we're just wearing it out, moving it around. So it would be a good use, and we have it.
Anything else?
So I assume that use of this topsoil and fencing and getting it to the community garden is going to involve town effort.
Say that again?
I
Who's
assume.
going to pay for it? The moving of it, I guess, is the real question. Community Gardens doesn't have any money.
We have $7.29.
Will that do it?
We'll take it.
I can tell you that a citizen of the community has approached me very vocally about expending any municipal funds on this garden club without benefit of at least a public hearing on it.
One citizen. And we have citizens coming in here and asking us what we're doing out there. And one of them said today, It's the best thing that the town has done in 30 years.
That may very well be, but I'm presenting the other side of the argument as well. And while we're in the discussion phase, I'm in agreement, I think, with David on this fencing. How much of that fencing is down there in the event that we need extra sections? Is it gonna match? Is it gonna be enough to do it, or? I guess Nancy did some checking on a wooden fence, similar to what town of Kennebunk has, and that was pretty costly. So, are we gonna be able to move this fence down there for, substantially less cost, or?
I mean, there's also, there's concern about how the fence is gonna look. You could put the reclaimed fence in the back and a part of the sides, and then purchase the wooden fence for the front and the sides, if you look, if you're concerned about how it looks and stuff like that. But, with all due respect to the citizens' concern about spending money, the amount of gain for the small amount that it might cost the town in moving topsoil in the fence to me, is not an issue. It's going to be very, very small cost to the town.
And who knows, maybe the garden committee can find a volunteer to do the moving of the soil.
Well, one thing that I think everybody should remember, and it's the only thing that I thought of, that's town-owned land. This is town-owned land. We're not, what's that?
It's town-owned land.
It's town-owned land, and if the garden thing out here doesn't work out, it looks to me like you should have stumped the rest of it anyway and made a lawn out of it. All you're gonna have to do is take a bulldozer and spread the loam around. I mean, it isn't like you're giving it to private citizens for private use. It's the municipality, and we just, we're doing a beautification project at the library down there, or the library's paying to have some done, but I mean, we paved the parking lot down there as a community service, and it seems to me this is kind of a community service, but other than that, and,
Speaking of beautification out here, sometime when you're slowing up in your road projects, if you could come up here and have Tommy start cleaning out around up here.
Well, that'll happen probably about June of next year.
I mean, we got the equipment now, so.
What's the,
Well, I only raised the issue of that party having the comment about expending town funds is because this board has taken a strong position of having as much transparency in government as we can do to make sure that everybody knows all sides of the question. So that's the only reason I bring it up, is for discussion part of the board. I'm 100% in favor of that.
well, I guess to that point, if it gets moved now, it's gonna be moved by the road department's budget. Unless somebody comes along and says, no, we'll come down with a trailer and we'll load the fence on there and we'll do this and we'll do that, right? I mean, there's no other place to take the money.
number one, the fence has gotta come down, okay?
It goes,
What happens to it after it's down and rolled up, is a different story, but it's gotta come down, so.
That part of it is somebody hauling it up here on a trailer.
Well,
or a truck.
that part of it is John's gonna have a trailer behind that yellow bug of his, and he's gonna drag it up here.
drag it.
Drag it,
The
yeah.
higher cost might be how many loads of
Drag it over
that
the four-wheel
topsoil.
trails.
I kinda was hoping that as far as the topsoil went, that, maybe there'd be some volunteerism or something. Nancy and I never discussed anything about how it was gonna get from point A to point B, okay? Or what was gonna be done with it, but, it's food
Well,
for thought.
there is quite a lot of enthusiasm with this group, so I would presume that they can come up with some alternatives.
And Gordon, as far as the concerned citizens, I've heard people say that, they didn't think that we ought to be doing a little, I've had people say to me, why am I working on this road, and why am I working on that road? And a guy stopped me the other day, and there was absolutely no reason in the world. Well, we was fixing up the new damn road, it was perfectly good enough for them people to get in and out. He didn't want to see his tax dollars fixing up the road for what he called
So-
a
so
special
let's-
interest group.
So let's move on with this question at hand. Been moved and seconded to authorize the use of topsoil and fencing from the highway department for the community gardens. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Can I make a comment? It's not the highway department's topsoil. It's the town of Waterboro's topsoil on the town of
But it's-
Waterboro property.
Right now, it's under the possession of the highway department.
All done with me?
Yes. Selectmen's report.
Quick, Dawn, run while you can. I said, quick, run while you can.
Selectmen's reports. Anything from the board?
You started on the honey-do list.
Tammy Jo.
Had a meeting of the road review committee last week. We did a field trip out to the McLucas Road to take a look at the work that's been done out there, and they have done a fantastic job with that. We also did take a ride out to the Old Alfred Road and looked at the paving. The chairman of the road review committee is in the paving business, and he pointed out a lot of deficiencies with the paving work that was done there. We also got an opportunity to see the new excavator, and I did send everybody a picture of it. So that's in, and I'm kind of surprised Doug didn't mention it tonight. Also had on Monday evening a meeting of the 12-town group. It was probably one of the lightest attendance that I've seen so far. We only had 6 towns represented. We had discussed at the last meeting putting some changes forward in the state law about roads being turned back to municipalities and having a specific set of standards that DOT would have to follow. There has been some draft language now. Doug's gotten a copy of it, and I'll make sure that everybody on the board gets it as well. And MMA is, supporting that. So with the draft, once the draft language is complete, then MMA will work on finding a sponsor for the bill. The September 9th caucus for the commissioners has been canceled. They did have a conversation, Greg Zenser, the administrator for the county, did have a conversation with John Sylvester, and they may not have totally agreed on the outcome of that, but the commissioners are saying that in the future they are going to call the caucus and they are going to run the caucus. That's still going to be something that needs to get ironed out, but at least for the time being, the commissioners have said that they will acknowledge the county budget members that were elected at the caucus on September 5th, and now we'll get to work on the county budget. Sanford town manager was here, and he floated an idea. They have an issue where they have reduced their staff so significantly over the years to help reduce taxes that they're now in a position where they find that they need to hire like a part-time clerk to help with vacations and sick days and whatnot. But they don't need somebody that's necessarily full-time. So what Sanford's thoughts are, because it's such specialty work and you have to be certified in doing so many things, that what they're looking at doing is hiring a town clerk, but then offering the services of that town clerk out to other municipalities on an as-needed basis. So they're looking at, they're going to have about 20 hours of work a week or maybe more on vacations and whatnot to keep this person busy. But then let's say, Waterboro, we had somebody going on vacation and we wanted to utilize that person for, say, 5 weeks out of the year, then they're willing to do a sharing of that person. Something that they're still kind of up in the air with and talking about, but it's kind of an interesting concept.
So they're going to become like a manpower agency?
Oh, yeah. And there was actually some interest. Acton, I believe it is, they have one person that works in the town hall. So when she wants to take a day off, the town hall has to close. So for a department like that and a town like that, that would be a benefit of them to to them because they would have a pool that they'd kind of be able to pull from. So it's an interesting concept. It'd be,
Maybe that's something that the county could do. Just have,
yeah.
have some,
And I did have a town called, because they needed coverage if we could send over somebody. That point we couldn't.
Yep.
anything else, Stephen?
Nope.
Anyone else?
I'm just wondering if the board had any concern about me doing a little backup general assistance administration. I've gone to a meeting for about 4.5 hours and plan on going in and working with, watching Nancy Johnson do some processing and then have her watch me do some, and then if she needs a backup sometime, someone that can go in, especially if there's a concern of a specific concern, or if she's not available, that I can be available. I know it's part of the selectmen's job in a way, but I'd like to put that before you all to see if you have any concerns with that.
I think it'd be a good idea.
Okay.
And
Great.
just keep us in a loop, I guess, so that
Yep.
somebody doesn't.
I don't
say,
expect it's going to
yeah.
happen very often, but there's a possibility she could be out and that she has an appointment, and, or there's a possibility too that she has a difficult situation and should want someone to sit in with her and another person to help her process it.
And we could change your posting and put his name on instead of the chairman's.
Right.
I don't think he thought of that one.
Well, I didn't hear you, Nancy, but
That
that's probably
we-
just as well.
We have a notice we have to put out on who to contact,
Okay.
and it's been the chairman, so if you're.
Oh, he can always refer it.
Oh, it's 211 or something like that. Anything else, John? David, you have something?
Well, I wonder if we shouldn't continue communicating with the state on the Old Alfred Road. And we got this letter from Mr. McLaughlin, and I assume Doug's letter or something similar to answer to this, but, I mean,
I think it would be appropriate for us to take some pictures of what's been done, and I guess at least put that on record that we're still, even though at the request of the road commissioner, they have now, made a feeble attempt to shoulder the road down there, but we still are not satisfied. Right?
Yeah, I'll get down and take some pictures tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think send another correspondence to them.
yeah.
It's not acceptable. They want to give this back to us, they need to do it right, and I think we need to hold their feet to the fire as much as we can.
We just keep pushing, that's all.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think we should add the
if nothing-
U.S. Postal Service on there too, because I had complaints of them dropping off the edge, trying to deliver mail, and
Wouldn't hurt to have some input from whoever that contract carrier is for that road. Yeah. Anything else, David?
No,
I mean, is it worth setting up a meeting and having DOT come in here to one of our meetings?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a swing, right? I mean, it can be a moot point that they listen to us, or we might stimulate something. I just think that it's very obvious based on how they've reacted to this, that it's like, wash my hands as quickly as I can from this whole thing.
So-
And unless unless we drive this up to the commissioner level, I'm not sure that there is any action.
And I'm not so sure, I think the shouldering was scheduled before Doug's letter went out too.
So I think let's make the next run, that we're not satisfied with the shouldering and some of the other stuff, right? So, just reiterate what's there. But I think ultimately, the only audience that I think you can have come in here that you need to discuss it with is the commissioner. And that may very well be us going to Augusta, rather than, because of the likelihood of the commissioner coming back down here is slim to none, I would think.
You know, we got a new commissioner too.
Right.
The letter that can go out, you might want to touch base with Roger too, because one of the things that he was pointing out is it's like a washboard, and he said that's whoever did the paving job itself, it's a misuse of the equipment. They didn't use the equipment properly, and what's going to happen with that washboard is that's all going to break up, and it'll all be broken up by this winter.
Okay. Town administrator's report.
We have the CIP kickoff meeting set for the department heads for the 26th, and I'll need to have the board to start thinking about what you would like to submit for CIPs. Of course, you've seen the letter from DOT, and Doug had reported on the shouldering. I expected the deed to come for that map 1, lot 22G. But that hasn't come in yet, but I will send another reminder. I just want to tell people we're having problems with our phones, but it's not our system, it's the actual phone lines. We thought we had it taken care of, but we come in Monday and David, would we have 3 of the 5 lines saying it was tied up?
I've tried to call a number of times and the phone just rings and rings and rings. It doesn't go anywhere.
So we're in fact hoping that if they don't fix it, David's already gone ahead to see about possibly changing companies. Also, I have started putting together a preliminary budget schedule here. I'm looking at the deadlines for the budgets to the town administrator by December 4th. And then the budget to the selectmen by January 4th, and the deadline to the finance committee will be February 11th. So that should give everybody enough time to. And the quarterly reports, I've updated them for the new fiscal year, and I think it's set for what, October 16th?
Yeah, I asked. Well, I sent you and Christina about that. Anything else?
Nope, that is.
Okay. Moving right along. Discuss a vote to approve referendum questions and issue warrant for November 6th election. It's your pleasure.
Make a motion to issue the warrant as presented.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Now, was there 1 or 2 words missing? Did
We added the road commissioner.
Oh, on the charter piece.
Yeah, on the summary.
Yep. Any other comments?
And Ken has requested that when the proof comes in, to send it to him so that he can check it too.
Okay. It has to be posted when?
We have to have,
We have to have absentee ballots, right?
Yep.
45 days, and we're what, 50 some odd out? So. All right, any other comments? Been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Discuss vote on partial payment waiver process. Not sure that everybody read and digested this, but it would appear that we probably shouldn't be entering into partial payment agreements for those properties that have matured tax liens.
Seems like we own more properties than we thought, too.
Yeah. So, I think if you look at Ken's most recent comment here, strongly recommends the selectmen not enter agreements with taxpayers in regard to tax-acquired property, and the tax collector or treasurer can agree with a foreclosed taxpayer to accept additional, et cetera, but there should be no written documentation, et cetera. So I think we probably need to sit with Sharon and Julie, and maybe you can do that, Nancy, to say, this is how we're gonna handle it going forward. And I think once we have, I hate to say have a policy, but I think at least we have a course of action of how we're gonna handle them in the future, then I think we can address it as a board.
What about the ones that have been issued?
I think that what's issued is issued, right?
I don't think you can undo them, I just
Right.
think from here on, you just don't go that way.
Be nice to have Julie put together a listing of those properties for us too, everything that's got matured liens.
Yeah, I asked, in fact, Christina, I'm not sure that, did she talk to you about it?
Yes, and she talked to
Because
Julie about it.
we
too.
should have had a list in August of those tax-acquired properties that would be subject to auction. And that's per the tax-acquired
Actually, I
property
think it's in
ordinance.
January, isn't it? For the auction in August?
August.
Yeah, the auction is August, but I think it's so many months out from that, so whatever the case may be. So, it would be nice to get a copy of all that. So, I'm not sure we need to take action until we have something to take action on. So, I guess, if nothing more, Nancy, if you could get with both the tax collector and the treasurer and at least look at some course of action that we should take. Item 3, discuss vote on IT manager's salary adjustments. This is the one we've had some discussion on. I think we've also got feedback from the town administrator relative to those, where those funds would come from. So what's your pleasure?
I'll make the motion that we approve the salary adjustment for the IT manager.
Second.
Any discussion? Sensing none, all those in favor? Opposed? So be it. Discuss a vote to sign a deed that's not here, so we'll defer that till next week. Discuss vote with the community guides, we already had that discussion. Old business, we don't have anything on here. Other warrants and bills of payroll. Entertain a motion to approve
So
those.
moved. Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Approval of the minutes of 9/11 regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Pending decisions, we get the public service announcements, driveway opening permit, board and committee status. In your packet is now in the packet that reaches the public is the current board and committee vacancies, so if anybody's interested in seeing what that is, it's in the packet. The barriers to protective vehicles on a public beach and the cistern maintenance. I guess cistern maintenance, we should, based on everything that we've now got from Tina, it looks like we really need to have maybe a small group determine what it is, has to be done, and what the approach is, and what the budget process should be, right? I'm just not,
And what should be done in the future.
yeah, which really goes to the planning board, right? Okay, week's action list. Other than what we discussed, we're gonna wait for this deed, right? You're gonna talk to both Julie and Sharon with regards to partial payment process.
Do we need to have a discussion or put on the agenda the concerned email from the snowplow contract?
Yeah, I had sent it to Christina to put on the
Yeah.
agenda either next week or
Be
the
on
week
agenda
after.
next week. I think she said it was, anyway, it'll be either next week or the week after. And just for the record, I'm not sure that we ought to have much of a discussion of automatically extending it. This board didn't have any appetite to extend the last one, so I'm not sure why we would now extend one, but.
I
don't think there was a provision
No, I
to
don't think
extend
there
it
was
last year,
either.
but there is now within the contract.
There was an extension provision in the 2-year contract of the previous contract I had, and he asked that we do that, and one night, with just 3 of us here, we voted that. A 2-to-1 vote not to extend that, so. Anyway, we'll discuss it when it's on the agenda.
Or maybe the new contract says not to go beyond 5 years.
Yes.
I know there was a time limit on it.
Anything else on the agenda?
And I don't know about this next time, but we, as part of our goals workshop, we asked the town administrator to come up with a skill matrix. Is that something in the next couple of weeks we can do? If I remember correctly, it didn't seem to be a very involved
No,
piece, but it would probably take you an hour or two maybe,
yeah, probably in a
thinking
couple
about it
weeks.
and putting it together. But,
Yeah, I started putting one in and I was like, oh, I don't like this one, they deleted it. And then I started, no, I don't like this one either, and they deleted it.
so, it may not, I think if we put these things on the agenda, they get done. So whether it's next week or the week after, maybe the week after. Okay.
Yeah.
I would recommend we put it on the week after agenda.
Anything else? Items needing signatures, warrants and bills of payroll in the minutes of 9/11, and also the, I'm not sure who you're looking for to sign the salary adjustment.
Oh,
in
with the forms in there.
Reminders, tomorrow night here at 5:15, we have an executive session, special executive session. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m. here in this room, there's a planning board meeting. Cribbage tournament Saturday morning at 8:30 over at the Old Town Hall. Community garden meeting next Monday night at the Old Town Hall. Transfer Station Recycling Committee meeting at the Old Town Hall next week, 6:30 p.m. Monday night. Our meeting next week, reports will be the treasurer, tax collector, town clerk, and general assistants. Next Thursday at 11:30 a.m., senior luncheon at the Snowmobile Club. 2 weeks from tonight, Selectmen's meeting reporting will be the Planning Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, and Town Planner. And with that, unless I missed something, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So, second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you.